state of mankind. How much do you know? Excerpts from How the Spectre of Communism is Ruling Our World. 43. Totalitarian politics undermines the freedom of individuals to exercise compassion, but gives space for evil. People seeking to use the law to stop others from doing wrong is precisely what the devil wants. In modern society, there are numerous complicated laws and regulations. The United States has over 70,000 tax laws. The health insurance law amounts to over 20,000 pages. Even judges and lawyers can't comprehend all the laws, not to mention an average person. From the federal level down to the state, county, and city, an average of 40,000 new laws are passed every year. A person can break a law without even realizing it. Punishments range from a fine to imprisonment. There are regulations on what sort of fish hook to use and on slurping soup too noisily in public. Everything, just about, has a law or rule limiting it. California allows only flat-screen televisions that meet certain energy consumption requirements. Plastic bags are banned. In some cities, building a hut in one's backyard requires government approval. The overutilization of laws dulls the moral sense. Many laws, in fact, go against common sense morality. And yet the proliferation of laws has created the social trend in which people are judged by the law and not their moral standards. As time goes on, it is easy for the agents of the evil specter to implant the devil's ideology into human laws. However good the law is, it is only an external power, and cannot change people's minds. Lao Tzu said, "The more laws are promulgated, the more thieves and bandits there will be." When evil is rampant, law is helpless. The more laws there are, the more control big government can exert. People ignore the fact that social problems are caused by the devil magnifying the evil side of man. They think that the problem is in the law, so they set about fixing that, forgetting the crux of the matter. A vicious cycle is formed, and society begins its step-by-step march to autocracy. Due to the infiltration of the communist specter, American society today is divided to an unprecedented degree, with the left using all its power to obstruct and thwart those who hold traditional views in politics. Using the term war to describe this situation is not an exaggeration in the least. In recent years, during the election in America, although the rhetoric may have been fierce and confrontational, once the election was over, the healing would start, rifts would be mended, and politics would return to normalcy. During the initial stage of the 2016 elections, however, some left-leaning officials within the government were already starting to plan how they would treat candidates from different parties with different standards. After the election, in order to seize back the election, the left started a lawsuit. After the new president was inaugurated, the leftist governor of Washington state said that there was a tornado of the support for all-out opposition to the new president. Higher-ups from the party in opposition admitted that an incensed army of liberals wanted them to wage total war against the new president, to obstruct him everywhere, and through this, win public support. The left is currently resorting to all methods to achieve its goals. Leftists often oppose new policies merely for the sake of opposition. Under normal circumstances, different parties may hold different views on policies, but despite the division, they all have a common desire for the country to be safe. But remarkably, not only was the proposal to strengthen the border subject to intense attack, but certain states even passed sanctuary city laws. These laws prevent federal law enforcement officials from asking people about their immigration status, and prohibit local agencies from providing immigration-related information to federal law enforcement. Before the election, the left-dominated mainstream media heavily endorsed the candidate for the left-wing party, giving the impression that her victory was an inevitability, and thus many were dumbfounded by the result. After the election, mainstream media coordinated with leftist politicians to sensationalize all manner of issues, directing the public's attention to attacks and criticisms of the new president, even to the extent of manufacturing fake news to confuse the public. The mainstream media turned a blind eye to virtually all of the new president's achievements, while not delving too deeply into the enormous problems inherent in the left-wing nominee. In a normal society, different groups or parties may have different opinions, and conflicts arise. But such conflicts ought to be temporary and localized, and eventually both sides should try to resolve the problem peacefully. It's only when one group is possessed by the class struggle mentality of the communist specter, that political disputes get elevated to waging war, with the belief that cooperation or peaceful reconciliation is impossible, and that one must totally defeat the opponent, and completely demolish the existing system. This comprehensive warfare is reflected in the overall confrontation and political gamesmanship, policy formulation, and the battle for public opinion, bringing with it deep social ruptures and an increasing number of extremist and violent acts. This is exactly what the communist specter hopes to see. In 2016, according to the latest poll conducted by the Associated Press and the Center for Public Affairs Research, about 85% of respondents believe that the country is more deeply divided on politics than in the past. 80% believe that Americans are heavily divided on important values. The unity of a country requires a common set of values and a shared culture. Although the doctrines of different religions are different, the standards for good and evil are similar. This allows ethnic groups in the United States to live in harmony. However, when values are divided, whether the country will even hang together becomes a question. Everyone harbors personal weaknesses and evil inside of them. The pursuit of power, wealth, and fame have existed since the dawn of mankind. The devil purposefully used the evil in human nature to create a system of its agents in each country. A country is like the human body, and each entity within it, whether an enterprise, government, and the like, is like a human organ. Each has its own function and performs its duties. If the devil's agents infiltrate a country, then it's as though a foreign consciousness has replaced the human soul, or in other words, that the foreign consciousness is directly controlling the body. If someone tries to shake a society awake from the devil's control, this system is likely to resist by every means, for example by using the media to discredit opponents, engaging in personal attacks, using misleading information to confuse the public, orchestrating antagonism, ignoring government decrees, diverting resources to support the opposition, and dragging the entire society into division and conflict. Opponents have even caused social unrest while attempting to turn uninformed members of the public against those who dare to confront the devil. Many people are both the founders, and at the same time the victims, of this system. Although they may have done bad things, they're not really enemies of mankind. Through control of both state and private power, and unmatched access and ability to marshal economic resources and intervene domestically and around the world as desired, political power can be used to create achievements for the benefit of all people. On the other hand, the misuse of political power can lead to enormous crimes. The purpose of this chapter has been to reveal the communist factors behind the politics of the world today, and thus to help people distinguish between good and evil, to see the devil's schemes, and to return politics to its proper domain and right path. Former U.S. President Reagan once said, "From time to time we've been tempted to believe that society has become too complex to be managed by self-rule, that government by an elite group is superior to government for, by, and of the people. Well, if no one among us is capable of governing himself, then who among us has the capacity to govern someone else?" Similarly, President Trump said, "In America, we don't worship government, we worship God." Political authority needs to return to the right path, based on traditional values. Only when mankind is blessed by God will he be able to resist being manipulated by the devil, and thus avoid the path of enslavement and destruction. Only by returning to the traditions and virtues for man laid down by God will humankind have a way out.